Welcome back to Titan Tigers, your favorite segment, the Alabama segment. Quiet. Almost too quiet in Tuscaloosa this past week. You know, I know teams prepping for the bowl games, but the transfer portal and all has calmed down a little bit. I think, you know, an exciting part to a lot of these bowl games this year is you haven't really heard too much of people sitting out. I know there was some talks and maybe about Jalen or some other people sitting out or what the future is on MIlro. You know, I'm not hearing anything. So that really makes me think that maybe things are going according to plan. And maybe that's a shout out to DeBoer of he's keeping the guys focused and ready to go. I know we had a few transfers when the portal really started, but I think Bama's focused, and I expect a big game out of them from Michigan. But saying that, there is some news. You know, the real big story this week has been Jalen Mbakwe, former Clay Chalkville football player, supposedly getting seven-figure offers from people. I was hearing Ole Miss, but some other people, maybe him wanting to play both ways. Now in the past day, you've heard he is not going in the transfer portal, which is huge news. I know he's got some competition at DB next year, but he's going to be a really good player for Alabama. So that was somebody they need to keep. So excited that he's going to stick around. Kelby Collins, former Gardendale, Alabama defensive end, outside linebacker, was at the Gators. He is transferring back home to Alabama. That's exciting news. He was a really good player for Florida. They thought a lot of him. So him coming back home, that's a big get for Alabama. I expect him to have a good few years in Tuscaloosa. So that was a great get. And that's really mostly all your transfer portal news. Big shout out to Tyler Booker and Malachi Moore, both named AP All-Americans. Booker was named first team All-American. Malachi was named second team. Anytime you gather those awards, I know we're used to seeing a lot more Alabama players on those lists, but they continue to be on that list. So shout out to both those two players. Award ceremony. Man, this is almost 2 years in a row now that Bama has not had a player win a major award. But we do have to shout out Jalen Milroe winning the Campbell Award for the best scholar athlete, which that to me is a major award. So I can't knock for that not being a Doak Walker or a Heisman. But Jalen wins the scholar athlete of the year. Big shout out to Jalen. The guy's a smart guy. Probably why he's taking so much time in this decision on whether to go to the NFL or whether to stay at Alabama another year. Like I've expressed on the last couple shows, I think he should stay, have a big year, be a Heisman front runner, and win everything to go to a top 15 pick with the class next year, QB being down. But shout out to him for winning the Scholar Athlete of the Year. The bowl game, Bama is a 10.5 point favorite over Michigan. We'll have our bowl preview next week before New Year's Eve. So, like I said, to me, that line may or may not change if anybody else decides, but I think everybody who's there is going to play now. But this is the 21st consecutive bowl appearance for Alabama. That's a long run. There's a lot of teams in the SEC, including Auburn, that wish they could have played in 21 consecutive bowl games. So DeBoer keeps the ball rolling on that end. Bama is 3-2 against Michigan is 3-2 against Bama in those bowl games. So to me, Bama's got to get back for what happened to them last year, and I think they will handily. But to me, this is about prepping. This is about getting the team focused, and this is also about recruiting. And so Rivals is who I follow. I know there's 24/7, a lot of these other people. Bama finishes with another top 5 class. So DeBoer keeps that train rolling with the top 5 class. So 22 commitments, 21 have already signed. We spoke about Keelan Russell last week, the number 1 quarterback, Gatorade Play of the Year. Also Michael Carroll, a 5-star offensive lineman from Florida. They got Dijon Lee Jr. from California, a 5-star DB. So they really spread it around. A lot of good linebackers, DBs, O-linemen. Bama's always been better because they've been better in the trenches. So to finish with a top 5 recruiting class, to really have all 21 of 22 already signed, that's huge going forward for the future. They're going to get this long bowl practice. I think some may be getting on campus starting in January. You like playing in that later bowl game because they could have gotten in some bowl practices. They still may be able to once the kids get out of school. But, Bama has got to be keyed in on next year. I think it's SEC championship or bust for not only DeBoer but for the team. And again, I think that starts with Milroe. If we have to start over at quarterback, I don't think that same expectations, and I think that could see some sort of trouble in Tuscaloosa with maybe a season that people don't expect in year 2. Remember we talked about last week, Saban's year 2 is in the SEC championship game, then the national championship game to follow. What will DeBoer do in year 2? I think a lot of that starts in setting the tone against Michigan. Go beat the brakes off them, get payback for last year, and start this new year out with a mission to be one of the best teams, not only in the SEC, but the country. So I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas. We'll be back after Christmas with a lot of updates on college football playoff. And we'll preview the Alabama-Michigan game, which will be on New Year's Eve. But like I said, everybody have a Merry Christmas and hope Santa brings you everything you want. Roll Tide.